Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to be reviewing the color version of the Abominable Snowmen. Now I'd already watched the black and white version of the animation and reviewed that, but I did want to watch the color version because sometimes they feel different and my thoughts on them are different. I have to say right off the bat, the colors really pop in this story. They look really good. They're really well done. The colors for the background look extraordinary. The colors for the characters look really good. I was amazed at how much they just kind of popped right out at my eyes. I really liked that. And I knew that was going to be the case because I had seen, of course, the trailers and a couple of the clips they posted on YouTube. It's the reason why I watched the black and white version first. I didn't want to be so overwhelmed by the color version looking so good that I couldn't appreciate the black and white version, so I wanted to watch the black and white version first, which I also really liked. But much like the Macroterra, they're really different viewing experiences. And I come away with them feeling slightly different because some of the effects, when you see them in black and white and you see them in color, they can affect you differently, much like in Macroterra with the gas down in the mines after Jamie looks different in black and white when it looks white than it does in color when it looks green. Same thing here in episode 6 when they're fighting the Great Intelligence. It looks different with all the lighting effects are in black and white, and the lighting effects are white than they are in color when it's green looking. It has different impacts on me. I really enjoyed both though. The color version looked really good, especially since the color version is 16:9, so you do get that little more filling of the screen, which looks really good, gives it a little more dynamic cinematic look, which looks really good. I don't have a lot of issues with this animation, which was surprising me going in. A couple of the fight scenes look a little rough. Not bad, a little rough, like when the head security guy is trying to retrieve the ball from outside and he gets assaulted by the Yeti who grabbed the ball and run off with it. Looks a little rough, not bad. I'm used to that being longer because I've read the Target novel and that's a little longer in the Target novel. Same thing in the scene when the Yeti has woken up from inside the monastery and he's trying to get out and Jamie just goes and throws open the door to let him out. Whoever it is opens the door so he can get out. That's done in a wide shot and it doesn't seem to make a big deal of it. You just see the Yeti fighting, the door is thrown open and the Yeti immediately turns around and walks out. They don't make a big what to do about that, whereas in the book, that's a big deal. So I don't quite feel like that scene has the effect and impact it should. And there's like one other one too I can't think of right off where when there's fighting going on, the animation doesn't quite live up. It's still better than the parking lot scene from Faceless Ones, and it's still better than the throwing the couch to the window from Fury. And to be honest, the scenes are fine. They're not bad. They're just not quite up to snuff with the rest of the story. The animation itself as a whole is good. I talked about this in my review for the black and white version of the story. The animation is a lot better than I was expecting. It is made by the same team who did Fury and Galaxy 4, and I have been very critical over Fury from the Deep's animation. I did not care for it. I had a lot of issues with it. It looked cheap. It looked rushed, which it was rushed. But I liked Galaxy 4's animation. I thought they had made a lot of improvements on it, but when the trailer first dropped for Abominable Snowmen, I didn't like the fact it looked like they were reusing some of the assets from the Fury animation, which I didn't like. But they work here in Abominable Snowmen because the animation is much more fluid here. The motions are a lot more smooth. I love at the beginning of the story when you see Troughton put on his coat, his kind of fur coat. That's a really good animation of him putting it on. There's several moments like that where when he's doing something and he's turning his head at all these different angles, it works. It feels very fluid. They definitely learned from their mistakes and they look like they had time to do this properly. That's probably why we didn't hear much about Abominable Snowmen for a while. There's that long gap where we didn't hear anything. It's because they were taking the time to do it properly. And I will always wait longer for a product if it means they're actively working to make it better. So the end result is me being pleasantly surprised at just how much I love this animation. They have really improved, even over Galaxy 4, but leaps and bounds over Fury. So I really enjoy that. The story is perhaps a tad long. This might have worked better as a 4 or 5-parter, but I do enjoy it. The voice work for the main villain for the Great Intelligence is creepy. It's so good because you have 2 different voices going. You have the actual monk, and then you have the Great Intelligence that is possessing him. And both the voices sound cool, but they're different enough that you can differentiate which entity is talking. And I love that. And they both have this creepy chill. The creep factor in this is actually really high. Now, the animation of the Great Intelligence and the monk that he's possessing is vastly different from the original production. I think they were trying to make him look more like a Tibetan mummy. You know, that kind of shriveled look than the original production, which in a way is kind of a shame because the original production, from the pictures we've seen, because he's not in episode 2, he looks really creepy. Something about his eyes in the pictures. The eyes look really good and sell it. But that might have been hard to do in animated form. They might have attempted that and it didn't work, so they went with this other design. The other design is okay. It's not great. It's okay. It works. It gets the point across. I don't really like the crooked mouth, but it works. I like the liberties taken with the story, with the animation, for instance, making the characters actually look more like they should, more like what a Tibetan monk would look like in the 1930s. I approve of that. I agree with that. Especially considering, they might have done it different if, half the story or more had existed. They probably would have animated them to look more like their live-action counterparts. But with only 1 episode in existence, and it's an early on episode, I think they made the right call changing the look of them in animation to look more appropriate for a 2022 production. I agree with that move. I think that was a good move. The audio quality of the story is phenomenal. Many thanks to Graham Strong, who of course wired his microphone and recording equipment directly into the TV. So the sound on this and what Mark has done with that sound, it sounds phenomenal. Like, you would not believe this was from a recording somebody did at home off a TV in the 60s. It sounds so much better than that. It's crisp. It pops. It sounds good. I'm really impressed with the audio track on this. It's nice. Again, is it essential Doctor Who? I think on its own, maybe not, but combined with Web of Fear, and those two being 2 sides of the same coin, especially both coming in season 5, I think them combined make them essential Doctor Who watching. Again, I think it's a little long, and while being good overall, it's not good enough that I felt I needed to review every episode, because to me there's not enough that happens in every episode. I think Jack is great as Trevor's. I think it's awesome him and his daughter got to do a Doctor Who story together. That's cool. I like Victoria in this story probably more than any other story, because she really does have a go-get-em attitude. I don't see a lot from Victoria. She kind of reminds me of Jo or Sarah here. She's constantly either getting into stuff or trying to get into stuff. The monks are constantly having to look for her. And the animation draws these sly looks on her face really well, where she's like, "Aww." When she's tricking people, like when she tricks them to, go into the cell and she locks Tommy or whatever his name is in the cell. Or when she first gets brought out of the trance and she's looking at Jamie like, "What are you looking at?" The animation conveys that really well, but I like the fact that Victoria felt less like the screaming damsel in distress in this one. She did get a couple of her screams in, of course, but she actually felt useful and like a 3-dimensional character in the story, so I definitely appreciate that. Of course, Troughton, from what I can hear, is great, and in the surviving episode, he's great. I really like Troughton, and it's nice that him and the old monk are old friends. I like that. So at the end of the day, I think the question is, which version do I like better between the color and the black and white? Because they're both really good. It's a really hard choice. I think I like the color version maybe slightly better. Just because in some of the more impactful moments of the story, the color version does lend just a little more epicness to it, like the final showdown with the Great Intelligence. Something about it being in color just pops a little more. But they're both good. I think it more boils down to just which one I'm more in the mood for at the time. Like there are going to be times when I just kind of want to watch the black and white in 4:3 version because that's what the Troughton era looks like. That's what the Troughton era is supposed to look like. It's in black and white, it's in 4:3, so I want it to look like a Troughton story should, so I'll watch it in the black and white because that still looks good. And other times I'll be like, man, the colors really pop on that one. I need to watch it in color again because it looks a little more epic. So it's just which one I'm in the mood for at any given time. And plus the reconstruction's on there as well. I haven't watched the reconstruction yet. I'll do that probably at some point. The Target novel's good. I've read the Target novel. I've seen so many different versions of this story, which is interesting considering I'd never seen it or read it at all like 3 or 4 months ago. But then I got the Target novel and read that and really enjoyed it. And then I've seen, again, both versions of the animation. And now I just need to watch the recon. It's neat there's so many different ways to experience this story. But I do like it. It's not as eventful as some of the stories, but it is still a good story overall and a lot of fun. And the Great Intelligence, I think this could be my favorite version of the Great Intelligence because I love his voice in it. I think the portrayal of the Great Intelligence is probably done the best here. I really like it. So yeah, the Abominable Snowmen. What do you think? What is your favorite version of it? Do you prefer it in color? Do you prefer it in black and white? Do you prefer the Target novel or the Telsnap reconstruction? I want to hear what you guys think because I always enjoy hearing from you. Other things to do: click the like button and the subscribe button, and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do. There's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, the 5th Doctor and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their continued support and the support of all of my patrons. I appreciate you. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers to the channel as well. We're over 800 now. It really pleases me to see the channel grow. I appreciate each and every one of you. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me. Anything you want me to review or look at or think that I might like, that's down there, as well as a link to my Amazon wishlist and my Amazon UK wishlist as well. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.